Advocates for vulnerable New Yorkers living in adult homes, often with a major mental or physical disability, are sounding the alarm about the governor's proposed $230,000 cut to services and supports designed to ensure this population can advocate for themselves when it comes to unsafe conditions, quality of life improvements, and other concerns. For more on the fate of the adult home advocacy and resident council programs, including how they're utilized now, we're joined on the Capitol Press Room by Teresa Young, Executive Director of the Coalition of Institutionalized, Aged, and Disabled. Welcome to the show, Teresa.
Thank you for having me.
And we're also joined by the organization's Deputy Director, Michael Callahan. Thanks for making the time, Michael.
Pleasure to be with you today.
And we're also going to hear today from Deborah Hunter, who lived in an adult home for more than a decade. Thanks for making the time, Deborah.
Thank you so much for having me and waiting on me to get on.
Well, last but not least, we've got Harvey Rosenthal, CEO of the Alliance for Rights and Recovery and a member of the Justice Center's Advisory Council. Welcome back to the show, Harvey.
Thank you, David.
So it's my understanding that for about 3 decades, these programs have played a critical role in highlighting problems with adult homes and, in at least one case, serving as the basis for a class action lawsuit into the administration of adult homes that we actually recently covered on the Capitol Press Room with Clarence Sundrum. But from an everyday grassroots perspective, what do these council and advocacy programs actually do? What is their relationship with the adult home population, and why are they important?
So residents of adult homes are able to join, create councils so that they can have a form of self-governance. I like to give the analogy that they're like a tenants association or a board of directors for the home. They are represented by residents, and anyone who is residing in a home is able to join the council. And what they do is have input in the issues that are facing residents that are in their home. They make suggestions for quality of life improvements. They bring issues that may be occurring in the home to the home's operators. And it's a way of having some collective power to address issues that may be occurring.
Well, Deborah, from your perspective, what is the importance of the adult home advocacy and resident council programs? Was it meaningful to you during your time living in an adult home facility?
Absolutely. I lived at Wave Crest Adult Home in Far Rockaway for 11 years, 2007 to 2019. And in 2015, the home organizer for CIAD came to the facility, and she had a meeting with the residents. And at that meeting, I learned that we had rights. We had rights. We could, have our own, take care of our own personal needs without the help of the administrator. I learned that I could get my own bank account. I was able to go to Social Security office, set up my own payee, have a bank account. I got my own doctors in the community. It was wonderful. And I learned that the operators, case managers, just had too much control over the residents. So my 11 years being there, I was able to help the residents that weren't able to help themselves. So when the organizer came from CIAD in 2015, and she spoke to us, and then later on in 2018, I was asked to become a peer advocate. I had to go through training, and then that October, I became an advocate. And I work with the staff, executive director, deputy director, we have home organizer, we have peers. We all work together. We go to 26 homes statewide and, citywide, I should say, excuse me. And we help the residents learn that they have rights, that you can live your life, even if you decide to stay in an adult home, you can live your life and take control, be in control of your own way. And so we go there to the resident council meetings. We help residents get phones. We assist them with complaint forms when there are issues with the administrative office or the staff of the building. And we just want them to have the best autonomy that's available for the rest of their life.
So, to the panel, the governor has argued that these services are duplicative of work that is already being done by the State Department of Health. What do you think of that rationale? Is there overlap here, or is the governor being misleading?
We have yet to figure out what groups they're referring to. We've not been able to get an answer. So we can only speculate what they mean, but there's nothing like CIAD, I assure you. And so I'm not sure where that thinking is coming from.
Well, then, yeah, if that is the case, if there is nothing that's going to replace these services if they're cut, what is the fallout from this potential cut, which I should point out is worth about 1% of 1% of 1% of the governor's total $260 billion spending plan?
Well, the fallout will be that there'll be a population that is not receiving residents' rights training. There'll be a population that is not given instruction on how to organize themselves. One of the beauty about the work that we do is that residents' voices are kept at the forefront. As Deborah said so well, our work is telling people about their rights so that they can learn how to advocate for themselves. And what the resident councils do is, after learning about their rights, is they're able to take the fight into their own hands and speak up and say what it is that they want and what they would like to see in their homes. And that can be anything from the food that they eat, to the recreation that they have, to things that to what doctors or nurses that they are partnering with. Sometimes it is a response to the lack of services that a home may have, or a response to policies and procedures that the home may have, and also feedback about the staffing. We have the collective response that residents are able to provide to systemic issues that are occurring in their home is what we teach them to do. There's not just about individual complaints to my personal care attendant didn't come and provide whatever service that they should have in a timely fashion, which is also very important. But is that person leaving a lot of people shortchanged? And how do we as a collective address that issue with the administrator if there are many people who are not receiving the services that they are entitled to? And the work that CIAD does allows people to understand that these folks are not doing you a favor. You're entitled to certain services as outlined in your agreement when you moved in. And these are the things that you have a right to demand.
And then while we, CIAD, are able to go into these homes and attend their resident council meetings, we also are able to attend their meetings when they meet with their administrator, the operator, when they want to voice their concerns in the home that the residents are bringing to the council. So that's very important that the council is strong for the residents in the home, and that they're able to speak to the administrators and people in charge to let them know this is what we're concerned about, the food, or we're not getting our medication on time, or whatever the case may be. We're able to assist them on those issues and help them come up with a plan that everybody's agreeable to.
So we've been having this conversation through the lens of preventing a cut. Is there a case to be made that the conversation shouldn't just be about preventing that cut, but increasing funding for these programs? Is there a likelihood that there should be even bigger capacity for something like this?
Definitely. Our funding has remained flat over the past 10 years. And with the increase of everything, the funds are don't stretch as far as they used to. We have increased expenses, just like any other organization, for rent, utilities, employment expenses, and the cost of doing business in New York State. We also have had to lay off one of our organizers, which limits our ability of how many people, how many homes that we can actually work with. As Deborah said, we have had contact with about 26 homes in the past year. If we had additional staff, we could increase those numbers and provide the services to the other homes within the city. There are currently about 120 homes within New York City. Um, and we have requests for our services, and we just don't have the manpower to be able to extend ourselves to go to those additional homes. With having to travel throughout the 5 boroughs. And, it's not just like many programs are just Manhattan based programs. We are truly within all 5 boroughs, from Far Rockaway to the tip of the Bronx, which means that we are often stretched thin, and have to try to figure out what is the best way in order to provide those services as they are needed to all of the residents who request them. So that means often we are consulting as well as doing in-person meetings. We take phone calls, and when sometimes people just want to know what should they do, and we provide our materials to them so that they can organize their resident councils and walk them through situations. Um, and at other times, we may log on to a Zoom meeting and do trainings with people virtually. But the wish and the would be for us to have enough staff so that everyone who requests our services, we're able to dedicate a full-time organizer to go to that home and work with them and develop their resident councils.
We're just talking here about the adult homes that are in New York City, where the majority of residents live, but there's 500 homes throughout the state. We're subject to a lawsuit where the attention was really focused and where the New York Times was focusing. But people in the other parts of the state don't get any of these services. And that's a whole other story that the state should address.
Well, putting my cynical journalist hat on for a second, one of the elements of this work is the support of impact litigation. And there was the resolution of a 2-decade plus lawsuit that was very well documented in the New York Times that found that there was widespread abuses of mentally ill residents and questionable deaths in these adult homes. So do you guys think that any of this is motivated by an effort to reduce lawsuits, to basically give the adult home operators some legal cover?
So the adult home operators have a pretty extensive and strong lobby, so I don't know that they need too much more cover. We've been trying to get an enforcement bill to get to the floor for a number of years that would actually put some teeth in the enforcement, which has been beaten back by their lobbyists rather skillfully every time. So I don't think that this is about giving them more cover. I think in some ways we've come a long way. We've made progress. We no longer have people dying from heat in their homes because there's no air conditioning. We don't have the kind of abusive situations where people are being sent for unnecessary surgery to relatives. So that there's essentially a Medicare fraud, Medicaid fraud. So those things we've worked on and have sort of overcome. But right now in the day-to-day, because things are sort of at a, maybe some people consider an even keel, things aren't horrible. that we don't need to do as much. And the fact is, if as soon as we stop pedaling forward, we will go back. And the funds that we're talking about here, the Equal grant program, the Enhanced Quality of Adult Living program, the $230,000 for the Department of Justice's funding for the residents' rights trainings, the direct funding for CIAD. Without those funds, which comes to, as you said, a minuscule amount of the state budget, not only will we not be boots on the ground in New York City, and those resident rights trainings won't occur, which served over almost 1,500 residents last year between Long Island and the 5 boroughs. But all of the things that we do that touch the entire state, all of our materials that are made available free of charge, all of the things that are on our website that people can download, the trainings that we do remotely, which we don't charge for, all of these things go away. And so what we do sets a tone for homes across the rest of the state. We do have allies in other places, Buffalo and Rochester, that call upon our resources and call upon the materials we've developed. For example, last year we developed a new brochure on training residents on the Equal Grant program, how to apply, how it should go, what the process is like, what their rights are there. We mailed that out to 205 homes across the state of New York that receive those grants, so to help them understand what's coming in the next cycle. We do a lot of those things. So if this money goes away, that advocacy goes away, and then operators no longer will have a independent third party coming in to support the residents. And many of these folks don't have family. They don't have folks that are allied with them in their personal lives. And they are in homes where they don't have any other options. Without an outside independent voice coming in that sees them for who they are and respects their dignity for who they are, I would be afraid that we're going to go back to some of the bad old days that Cliff Levy reported about.
And one other thing is there are peer bridgers that were created as part of the suit, peers that go into the homes and help people leave. But that presumes that the operators are going to be cooperative and let them in. And they're convinced that they won't be. So even though you have services that may survive the settlement makes the operators have to comply. And without that, who knows whether the health department, which is the licensing body, will do the right thing here.
The very fact that we have funding through the DOJ Justice Center is what makes it possible for us to get our foot in the door, because this is state mandated. But if that funding goes away, it's no longer state mandated. And yes, they can give them a sheet that says these are your rights, but some folks can't even read those sheets because it's not in every language. It's not in a reading level that they can read to. And so it's incredibly important that we have this funding gives us leverage to advocate for these people who live really on the margin and who are the least able to advocate for themselves without support, because it's not the world that they've come from. They've not had to organize themselves before. And now they're trying to organize their futures so that they can have the best quality of life possible.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this conversation. We've been speaking with Michael Callahan and Teresa Young of the Coalition of Institutionalized Aged and Disabled, Harvey Rosenthal of the Alliance for Rights and Recovery, and Deborah Hunter, a peer advocate. Thank you, everyone, for making the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
And for more Capital Press Room content, visit capitalpressroom.org or wherever you download your favorite podcasts.